On to another Real 2K recap, going over the games from October 28th, 2025, and just touching on a little bit of league news to start us off. Pacers found out that they're going to be without Obi Toppin for a month, and we got a diagnosis on Benedict Mathurin. He's going to be week to week, probably means he's out at least 2 weeks. So the Pacers, they're probably going to be able to qualify for a hardship exception soon, much like the Grizzlies. They have a few long-term injuries on their roster: Halliburton, Mathurin, and now Toppin and McConnell. So I believe that's 4 guys that allows them to qualify. Andrew Nemhard, I don't think is going to be out for like another 2 weeks. It seems like his injury was relatively minor. These guys are relatively minor. But it is four injuries of significant length is like the threshold for hardship exception. So the Pacers should be signing somebody in the coming days. And then for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sam Merrill, he bruised his hip in the game against the Pistons, or rather had a hip contusion. So he is day to day with his injury. He's going to miss the game against the Celtics on Wednesday, so I will deactivate him, and that means that Cleveland is a little short-handed in the backcourt to start that game. They, of course, are already without Darius Garland as the starting point guard. Merrill had been starting for him already, so it looks like it might be Lonzo Ball or Craig Porter Jr. in the starting lineup. Probably, actually, Jalen Tyson got a little bit of a look during the preseason, but yeah, they don't have a ton of options. Let's head on over to the 76ers and start off the games that were played today. They moved up to 4-0, beating the Washington Wizards 139 to 134 in overtime. The Sixers, they had the number one offense in the NBA entering this one with a 126 offensive rating. Number 27 defense, though, with a 121 defensive rating. They are running up the score every game, which is what made me check this. It's worth noting that Justin Edwards actually started in this game at the 4. The Wizards run double small forwards with Keyshawn George and Chris Middleton, so they likely did that for matchup purposes, but probably isn't going to happen again. Edwards was not effective. Had 3 points, was a team worst -22 in only 14 minutes. So, yeah, he had a pretty dreadful preseason and has not, shall we say, covered himself in glory to start the year. And then Trendon Watford, he actually returned from his injury, so maybe he makes it into the starting lineup at some point. But really the big news, the big takeaways that I had from this game, as I got to watch a little bit of it. Joel Embiid, he had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 of 6 on threes in 23 minutes. He's averaging a point per minute, so he's very effective on that end, but he is absolutely cooked on defense. He can't move his body at all anymore. Alex Sarr, of all people, had a career night. So we'll get into that in just a second, but the team was down by 9 with 7 minutes in the fourth quarter when Embiid checked out, as he is on a minutes restriction, and they came back without him and were able to win it in overtime. Adem Bona was a big part of that. He had 5 blocks in this one and had a key bucket during the overtime period. You may notice that Joel Embiid is no longer my top-rated 76er. I had him at 98 overall in 2024, but to me, it's just clear between last year and now this year that he is a shell of that player now. He has a decreased offensive role with this team. He's shooting a lot when he's in the game, but he's not really the go-to guy. He's not doing anything at the rim. He's even drawing fewer fouls. I dropped his overall to an 89, which is -3 from where 2K's got it at. And just a lot of that is his defense is nowhere near where it used to be. You can see also 75 help, 80 on the interior, 55 perimeter defense. These are well below where 2K Sports has them at. A lot of his counting stats are lower so far. I don't want to overreact to those just because it's still early in the season, but his blocks are down, his rebounds are down, and yeah, his speed. I probably could even drop his agility just a little further. Yeah, it's not looking good for Embiid. I even dropped his shot IQ a little bit, and once we get 11 more data, I'll probably drop some of the post ratings as well if he's not really doing that. I did drop his dunk ratings, and then his layup rating. I'm serious. He only has like one shot at the rim so far this season, not including this past game. I didn't get a chance to watch Embiid's actual offensive performance in this one. But yeah, it's kind of a sad story for him. And the Sixers are, probably just going to be happy with him being a part-time player moving forward if it means that that's what it takes for him to be able to play the majority of his games. And Tyrese Maxey, he's essentially stepped forward and filled the role as like the top offensive player for the 76ers. He had 39 points in this one, 10 assists, 11 of 25 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3, 14 of 16 from the free throw line. He really controlled the game down the stretch, outplayed CJ McCollum. His three-point shooting slipped to 34% last season, but it's bounced back this year. So far, he is 18 of 38 on threes through 4 games, so he's shooting 47% and hitting 4 per game. And his assist numbers are up. He's really looks more in control of the offense, whereas like 2-3 years ago, it was pretty clear that he was a secondary, like a scorer that had to play off of Embiid. Well, now Embiid is playing off of him. So we've got Maxey at a 90 overall. This is like essentially, if you're not familiar with my tier rankings, essentially for it's actually 2Ks. The way that they tier the overall ratings, I just kind of more or less figured it out and put actual like titles on everything. But basically, a 95 or more is going to be your MVPs. So everything from 95 to 99. Anybody with a 90 to 94 rating or whatever, that's an all NBA level of player. 85 plus is like an all-star caliber of player. 80 plus is a starter level of player. And then from 75 plus, you get your varying degrees of role players. Guys who are like 78, 79 are like your 6th, 7th, 8th men. And then the guys who are in the 75, 76 range are more closer to like 9th, 10th. For 75s, like 11th or even 12th men. And then your guys at the end of the bench are going to be less than 75, and then G Leaguers ranging from, if they play NBA minutes, they're going to be in the low 70s. If they are developmental guys, they are going to be in the 60s. So that is essentially 2K's tier list, how they do their overall ratings. And that's I'm the only difference between me and 2K is I do the entire league, whereas they're predominantly focused on like the top 100 players. So there's usually really bad discrepancies among like all of their role players. I try to smooth all of that out in my roster. But I essentially moved Maxey into all NBA territory in this update. Think like De'Aaron Fox a couple years ago with the Kings. That's what Maxey's doing right now, as long as he keeps it up. For what it's worth, he was pretty clutch in this game as well. So that is something that he would have had in common with De'Aaron Fox in that Kings 2023 season a couple years ago. Rounding out the rest of the Sixers' performances, VJ Edgecombe had an off night shooting, 14 points, 4 of 12 from the field. His jumper's a little erratic, so he's not always gonna put up a big scoring line. But Kelly Oubre was efficient in this one, had 17 points and 11 rebounds, doubled. He's another player who's been shooting it a lot better from 3. It was 3 for 5 in this game. Probably going to boost him up, probably to an 80 once I actually sit down and look at his numbers, get a little more games in the sample. Quentin Grimes had his best game of the year, had 23 off the bench, hit a lot of big shots down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And then, as I mentioned, Adem Bona was a monster in OT, finished with 5 blocks. I adjusted his ratings and kind of made sure that help defense. Where is it? Yeah, 2K for whatever reason has him with like a high block rating and then a low like help defense rating. So I switched that up. He's probably, I'm still gonna give Embiid a little credit. We did a little bit of a more sample. This was just one game against an improved Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr probably has a big quickness advantage on Embiid in general, but and we'll get to the Wizards part of this in just a second. But it probably makes sense for Adembona to have higher defensive ratings than Embiid. That's something that'll probably take course over the entirety of this 82 game season. Let's head on over to those Washington Wizards who dropped to 1-2 on the season. They're a little feistier than people were thinking they were going to be. Maybe the veterans, Middleton and CJ McCollum, have helped balance them out a little bit. But Alex Sarr, he also looks just much improved. Sarr and Keyshawn George, especially, they had kind of really bad rookie seasons. They are playing really well as sophomores. 31 points for Sarr, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. 13 of 23 from the field, was 3 for 7 from 3, played 34 minutes. It was the second highest scoring output of his career. Previously, it was 34 points on 12 of 28 shooting, and was 7 of 19 on twos in that one. He was 10 of 16 on twos in this one, so that essentially shows his growth in that on that end as a finisher. I've mentioned in a couple of my videos that I had him at a 60 layup rating last season, and that 2K actually has him like really overrated relative to what he did last season. So I actually haven't touched his ratings at all. I think the ratings that he has right now are more or less fine. Maybe he needs a little bit of a 3-point boost. I think he's shooting it better from there. He took a mid-range. Embiid backed off him this game, and he did drill some jumpers on him. But he was attacking Embiid in that first quarter. Posted up on him a couple times. That was a big part of why I dropped Embiid's defense, his interior defense rating. Because, dude, if you're getting beasted on the block by Alex Sarr, who doesn't weigh anything, it means you're just cooked defensively. You can't move at all. Sarr was just going around him with ease, which part of that is Embiid is cooked, but also Sarr is a pretty agile player for his size. So another indicator that Embiid might be cooked is Marvin Bagley, the second or the third. He had 14 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 7 from the field in 19 minutes in this one. So just another testament to how poor Philadelphia's interior defense is. I'm not going to read too much into Sarr's big game in this one, but he has been doing it against other teams besides Philly so far. And then Keyshawn George, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 threes, 2 steals, 1 blocks. He's been breaking out this season. He's on my list of players that I need to get an updated rating for. Sarr and George probably should be the 2 highest rated players on the Wizards, relative to how I probably should drop also Middleton and CJ McCollum to make it happen. Middleton was good in the opener against the Bucks, but he's been a little underwhelming in the couple games since then. And then CJ McCollum also struggling a little bit. He may have lost a step. Both these guys are 34 years old. He had 14 points for 14 from the field, and again, he got outplayed by Ty Maxey down the stretch of this one. When he joins a playoff team after the All-Star break, it's possible that he'll be a sixth man rather than a starter, the way things are going. But yeah, the Wizards a little feistier than you would think. Trey Johnson had another double-figure game off the bench. Probably could stand to get his rating up a little bit more. Bilal Coulibaly is yet to make his debut. And Corey Kispert isn't the worst, but I definitely do think that George should have a higher overall rating. So I'll get to that before the next video. I've been pretty good at if I don't get it the same day, I get it usually the following day. Heading over to the Miami Heat, they moved up to 3-1 on the year. Despite the absence of Norm Powell in this one, they absolutely trucked the Hornets 144 to 117. Pelle Larsson started in his place. He had 17 points in 31 minutes. And Jaime Jaquez, he's another player. I got to get his rating up. He's really taken a step forward after a subpar sophomore season. He's really leading that second unit for Miami. He had 28 points in this one and 5 assists off that bench. Was a plus 43 team high, and the second unit for the Heat really dominated the Hornets in this one. Bam Adebayo had 26 points. Also, he was 3 of 5 from threes, so that's another thing that we got to keep an eye on. It seems like he's been shooting it better this year than he did last year. Heading over to those Hornets, they got solid contributions from their starting lineup, but not a ton else. LaMelo had 20 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, was 6 of 18 from the field, so the stat line looks nice, but he actually wasn't too effective. Sexton, 18 points, 6 assists. Concanipple, 19 points, 5 threes. Miles Bridges has been okay. He's been like a little erratic with his shooting, but he's been putting up double figures in all the games so far. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner had 10 points, 6 rebounds, another 5 of 5 game in 31 minutes. So he's been surprisingly effective, but the bench only had 33 points in this one. They don't have many NBA quality players here. One of the few ones that was, Trey Mann, had a really ineffective game tonight. Had 8 points on 3 of 15 shooting, 3 turnovers, and was a team worst minus 31. So Jaime Jaquez definitely got the better of him in this one. Heading over to the Bucks, they moved to 3-1, beating the Knicks. The Giannis is really solidifying my 99 overall rating for him. He was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week and followed that up with another 37 point, 9 rebounds, 7 assist game, 16 of 22 from the field. He just can't be stopped by anybody right now. Ryan Hollins, likewise, making the most of the absence of Kevin Porter Jr. He had his best game of the year, maybe even of his career. 25 points, 8 of 11 from the field, 4 of 4 from 3. And it's not unreasonable that he holds on to that starting job once KPJ returns. The Knicks, for their part, dropped to 2-2 on the year. Jalen Brunson had a big game, but he didn't get a ton of support. Brunson with 36 points, only 3 assists, 14 of 25 from the field, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. Mikal Bridges, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, looking more like the Brooklyn Bridges of the Brooklyn Nets when he was a more well-rounded offensive player. I think Tibbs really restricted what he was able to do offensively, and he's one of those players who's kind of breaking out under Mike Brown. I haven't touched his 2K rating as of yet, but I think like last year I had him he was one of the more overrated players by the 2K roster. I had him at like an 83 overall. And usually my ratings come out like a point or two higher than 2K because I'm doing a little different stuff with the badges and certain other things. So for him to be 3 points lower from where 2K had them at, that just shows like he was really overrated. But based on how he's performing this season, I haven't touched his rating. I think the 86 is actually fine based on what he's doing so far. OJ Anunoby, another guy, he had a quiet offensive night with 9 points, but he also had 5 assists. There's just a lot more ball movement under Mike Brown. 11 assists for Bridges and Anunoby versus only 3 for Brunson. That surely never happened last year. Like, Brunson pounded the air out of the ball every night, and Bridges and Anunoby never would have had the ball long enough in order to actually generate 11 assists. So a lot of those obviously went to Brunson. The Knicks are moving the ball, and they're still finding even though the ball isn't in Brunson's hands as much, they're still finding him on the offensive end. Now, who it's not finding is Karl Anthony Towns, who had his worst game of the year, 8 points, 12 rebounds, was 2 of 12 from the field. He's banged up at the moment, but he also made comments saying that he doesn't really know his offensive role on this team, which is maybe not a great sign for a player that's making close to $60 million. He's only averaging 17 points per game. Obviously not out there for his defense, so it's pretty safe to say that he won't repeat as an All-NBA player, which means I need to get his rating down into those high 80s. He should not be this high, probably like 88, 89, once I actually sit down and get to it. But yeah, disappointing game for him. And Josh Hart also having a very quiet start to his season. He also was hurt to start the year, probably still recovering from the injury, but he's just not being used the same way as he was under Tom Thibodeau coming off that bench. 3 points in 26 minutes for him. I think he only had 3 points in the last one as well. Miles McBride was out for this game, so the Knicks actually started Landry Shamet, and they went small also with OG at the 4 so that they could match up with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Wouldn't make sense to have Towns at the 4, and as Towns can barely guard fives as it is, much less the premier power forward in the NBA. But Shamet was reasonably effective, but overall the Knicks, likewise, it's a little tough on the bench, and this is their last year Thibodeau didn't play the bench. This year they are playing the bench. Well, this game and the Heat game are probably games that Tom Thibodeau would have ground out by playing the starters heavy minutes, but because they are not playing the starters heavy minutes, they're gonna lose more games, I feel like, by playing subpar players more often than not. Heading over to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who it doesn't matter who they run out there. They went to 5-0 on a back-to-back, even with Chet Holmgren sitting this one out. And it didn't look good for the Thunder as they were down to the Kings, but they went on a 17-4 run to come back in that fourth quarter, just absolutely dominant down the stretch. Aaron Wiggins started at the 4 in this one. Essentially, so Chet wasn't playing, so they didn't have the option of going double big. So he's the best option that they had to at least match up against the Kings' small ball front court of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Wiggins, for his part, played really well, as he always does when he gets these opportunities. Had 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, was his usual MVP self. Had 31 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Controlled the game down the stretch and hit the dagger 3 to put the game away. Was 14 of 26 from the field overall. AJ Mitchell was also really important in this one. Another 18 points off the bench. Probably need to get his offensive ratings up just a couple ticks. Maybe his mid-range rating could go up a little bit more. And maybe shot IQ or something. Where the heck is it? I always get lost sometimes. There we go. 80 shot IQ. Maybe the ball handle rating, maybe the mid-range rating. I gotta dig in, but I probably prefer him at like a 77 to 78 right now, as he's played really well, essentially filling in the offensive that's missing from Jalen Williams, guards like Isaiah Joe. It's worth noting that Alex Caruso returned in this one. He also hit a big 3 down the stretch of this one against his former teammates, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Heading over to those Kings, who dropped to 1-3, the big story for them was Russell Westbrook got the start against his former team and had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Hitting the starting lineup in favor of Keon Ellis, who came off the bench again. What is this lineup? LaVine had 23. He was the hot hand for the Kings in this one. DeRozan 19, and then Westbrook had the 16. But there's so many mouths to feed. All these guys essentially need the ball. So, what is Dennis Schroeder doing in a game where Russell Westbrook's on the court? Not much. So Schroeder had 8 points and 3 assists in 31 minutes. And then, what is Sabonis doing with all of these ball-dominant guards? He had 10 points, 18 rebounds, only 3 assists. He's not averaging, I think he's only averaging 2 or 3 assists on the year, so significantly lower passing output from him. He was 5 of 15 from the field, so 10 points on 15 field goals for a center, not great. He's not there for his defense, so what is he even... He just kind of looks lost out there. They're not running the offense through him at all, aside from utilizing him in high screen and rolls with all these guards. And it's just no surprise why The Kings are a paper tiger. They've got some star power, but it doesn't fit at all together on the court, and they have a 1-3 record. They play, it was impressive for them to be able to play, hang with the defending champs for as long as they were, but the defending champs were also extremely short-handed and playing a back-to-back, and yet they were still able to find it down the stretch against the Sacramento team. So not good for them. I need to get the ratings for a lot of these guys a little lower, especially Sabonis. If I know I'm sensitive to guys when they're coming off of injuries and stuff, but it's clear that the way he's being utilized, some of these pass ratings might need to start going down sooner rather than later. Ditto with like that offensive consistency if he's not going to be a big part of what they're doing offensively. His 93 post control, this is absurdly overrated by 2K as he is not a post player at all. So this right here is like actually gassing him up, his rating up quite a bit if we just drop that like each of these by like 20 or whatever. It's oh, oops, wrong category. Like this in itself is propping his overall rating up by 2 points on its own. Yeah, that's the Kings, and we're gonna finish off with the Warriors versus the Clippers. The Warriors moved 4-1 on the year, dispatching the Clips 98-79. It was a really ugly first half, but the Warriors were able to hang in there and bludgeon the Clippers in that second half. They went with the Jimmy Butler at shooting guard death lineup again. This might end up being like their actual lineup. So I did adjust the positions for these guys. It seems like especially in the games when Horford is playing, this seems like the positional breakdown of how everything's going to go. I did move Moses Moody from the 2 to the 3 to basically swap him with Jimmy Butler. But Quentin Post actually started this game over Horford. Horford, of course, is 39 years old, is going to be on a limits restriction anyway, and obviously is playing the back-to-backs, whatever. Bring him up off the bench. They started Post a couple times last year. He was effective in this one, had 12 points on 4 of 7 shooting. Butler had 21 in this one, and then Curry, a little quiet night, but 19 points was enough to get the job done against the Clippers, who their defense kept them in the game early, but their offense just never came around. They shot 37% from the field in this one, 6 of 33 from 3, which is 18%. Only 10 assists for LA in this one. 20 points for James Harden, but only 1 assist. And then Kawhi Leonard, he averaged 17. Zubats, 14 and 13. So the Clippers weren't able to get anything going. Bradley Beal sat this one out, his second straight game. So Bogdanovich got the start. 2 points for him on 1 of 5 shooting. Another guy who's kind of recovering from injury, but he only played 9 minutes. Nick Batum actually started over him in the third quarter. At this point, like if you're not going to get any type of scoring out of like Bogdanovich or Bradley Beal, you might as well just be starting Chris Dunn for defensive purposes. And I think that it's time. The Clippers dropping to 2-2. It's time to start dropping the ratings of all of their bench players. A lot of these guys were starters last year, but they're not having starting level impact coming off the bench for the Clips. So I did. I pretty much dropped everybody to like 2 points on the overall. I basically reduced everybody's intangibles rating to 25 just to ensure that that they are a little lower on that depth chart and so that they don't have like a ton of like trade value or anything. Essentially doing this to Collins, Brook Lopez, Chris Paul. Right now, it's a little too early, and their samples are too small to really get a good read on what like their statistical output is going to be for the duration of the year. So that's just a little trick that I'm throwing out there to like as like a placeholder until we get a little bit more information on what exactly I can drop on each of those guys. And that's essentially what intangibles should be used for, when you're like properly using it as a band-aid, as opposed to 2K, who they'll be doing that 80 games into the year after we already have like a full game sample or a full season sample on all these guys. But anyway, that was tonight's video. Tomorrow we've got another 10-game marathon on Wednesday. The most interesting of those games is going to be the Bulls, who are undefeated 3-0, going up against the ghost of the Bulls, the Sacramento Kings. That's the game that I'm maybe the most interested in, if only for shits and giggles. I would love to see the new Bulls move to 4-0 against the dregs of what their team used to be. And then the other interesting game, in my view, is the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. Not because those teams are healthy, but because they are actually missing some key players. So Austin Reeves has dropped 51 and 41 in his last 2 games. So he's on a really big tear. And he'll be going up against a Minnesota team that is without Anthony Edwards. They don't have a ton to match up with Reeves in that backcourt, so they're going to be relying a lot on Rudy Gobert to stop some of those drives at the rim, and we'll see if DeAndre Ayton is able to put the brakes on Julius Randle or Naz Reid. So I think those are pretty, not the highest quality of teams, but the most interesting matchups that we're going to have on this Wednesday. I'm going to have my eyes on those. And if you think there's anything that I need to have my eyes on, feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know if you like the content that I've been putting out for the past week or two since the NBA season got underway. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you wanted to actually download the roster, there is the file name. You could also just search Real2K on 2K Share, and it should pop up. I am on the PS5. I assume that there is crossplay on Xbox, but I don't know for 100% sure, certainty. I know PC doesn't have access anymore this year. Anyway, I'm terrible with outros. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.